What you see here is that the platform is moving straight up and down, not side to side, not in a circle. Just vertical motion, clean, repeating. Nothing is correcting this, nothing is watching it. No controller either. On top of the platform sits a rigid body. It's not being pushed, it is not being steered. At first, nothing looks unusual. The vibration is visible, the motion is simple. Then the body begins to turn. Not abruptly, not violently, just enough that you notice it is no longer aligned the way it was. The platform continues its straight motion. The vibration does not change direction. The frequency stays the same, and yet the body rotates. Slowly at first, then steadily, then unmistakably. You've probably seen this before. Most people think they already know this one. They expect slipping, they expect imbalance, they expect a hidden sideways force. Nothing new enters the system, no lateral input appears, no timing sequence changes. The base moves vertically, the body rotates horizontally. If this were friction alone, the motion would stop. If this were instability, it would collapse. If this were control, it would hesitate. None of that happens, the motion stabilizes, the rotation persists, the system settles into repetition. Every cycle looks the same, every cycle adds a little more turning. The object is not reacting, it's not correcting an error. It is not drifting, it is doing the only thing it can do. Every other outcome fails. Look closely at the body itself, not the vibration, not the platform. The body. Its shape is not neutral, its mass is not arranged evenly. One side carries more inertia than the other, not because it's larger, because more of the mass sits farther from the center. That difference is visible. You can see it before anything moves. As the platform rises, inertia resists that upward motion. But it does not resist uniformly. The heavier side resists more strongly. As the platform falls, inertia again resists the change, but the timing is different. One side lags longer, another side reconnects sooner. Contact does not occur everywhere at the same instant. It never has. Watch the contact points. They do not load together. They do not release together. One edge grips while another edge is already unloading. This is not slippage, it's a sequence. The platform supplies motion in one direction only. The body responds in pieces, out of sync with itself. Nothing here applies a sideways push. No part of the setup ever moves laterally. And yet, resistance is never purely vertical. Resistance is shaped by where the mass sits and where it is forced to respond. The geometry decides which part of the body reacts first and which part reacts last. Each vibration cycle repeats the same ordering. The base moves up, one side resists earlier. The base moves down, that same side releases later. The sequence does not average out, it accumulates. Straight motion cannot complete its cycle symmetrically because the mass is not allowed to respond symmetrically. This is not a transient effect. It does not decay, it does not correct itself. The constraints do not change from one cycle to the next. The same parts always load first, the same parts always lag. The same imbalance is enforced again and again. Nothing in the system is choosing rotation. Rotation is not commanded either. It is what remains after straight motion fails to close its loop cleanly. Once this is fixed, nothing else can happen. Now watch what happens across time, not position. One cycle is not enough to see it. Two cycles are still ambiguous. The behavior only becomes clean when the motion repeats and nothing changes except accumulation. The vibration stays vertical, the frequency stays fixed. The amplitude does not drift. The system is doing the same thing again and again, but the response is not cancelling out. Each cycle leaves a trace, not a mark you can see, but a difference that remains. The ordering of contact is the same every time. One side always meets resistance first. One side always releases last. That order is not random. It is enforced by where the mass is allowed to resist motion. Straight line motion depends on symmetry to close. Up must mirror down, load must mirror release. Here, that symmetry is missing. The vibration goes up and comes back down, but the body does not experience those two halves the same way. The mass shifts which parts are late and which parts are early, every single cycle. Nothing dramatic happens in any one moment. There is no kick, no impulse, no sideways shove. Instead, there is a small mismatch that survives the cycle. That mismatch is carried forward, then the next cycle adds another, then another. The base does not store memory, the body does. not in material but in orientation. Each incomplete straight cycle leaves behind a smaller angular change that is not undone. The vibration repeats, but the orientation does not return. If straight motion were fully allowed, the system would reset itself every time. But the straight motion is denied completion. One half of the cycle cannot perfectly undo the other. The constraints prevent it, geometry prevents it, timing prevents it. So the system finds a different way to repeat. It settles into a motion that cannot close its loop. Rotation completes cleanly. Rotation returns to itself. Rotation survives repetition where straight motion cannot. Nothing switches, nothing engages, nothing adapts. The behavior emerges because repetition has only one stable outlet left. Once this is fixed, nothing else can happen. Shift your attention from motion to order. Not how fast anything moves, not how far, just the sequence in which things happen. The vibration looks simple because it repeats, but repetition hides structure. The structure only becomes visible when you stop watching position and start watching timing. As the platform rises, one region of the body resists motion sooner than the rest. That resistance is not stronger because of friction alone. It is earlier. As the platform reverses and moves downward, the same region does not release at the same moment as the others. It lingers. The rest of the body is already responding to the new direction while one part is still completing the previous one. This creates overlap. Not overlap in space, but overlap in time. One part of the body is still reacting to the upward motion while the other part has already committed to the downward motion. Straight line vibration assumes simultaneity. This body never allows it. The result is not chaos, it's order of a different kind. Each cycle repeats the same overlap, each cycle preserves the same delay. There is no averaging out because the delays are locked into the geometry and not mass placement. The timing asymmetry is not noise, it is enforced. Energy enters the system in a straight line. That part never changes, but energy leaves the system through contact events that are staggered in time. Those staggered events do not cancel each other. They form a sequence, and sequences when repeated create direction. Nothing here redirects energy intentionally. There is no hinge, no ratchet, no mechanism that stays this way only. Instead, straight motion cannot complete because different parts of the body are never in the same phase of motion at the same time. Rotation is not faster, it is not stronger, it is simply the only motion that can repeat without contradiction. Once the body begins to turn, timing conflicts reduce. The overlaps become consistent, the motion stabilizes. The system is not seeking efficiency, it is seeking closure. It adopts the motion that can finish every cycle without leaving unfinished interactions behind. The constraints do not favor rotation, they eliminate everything else. Once this is fixed, nothing else can happen. This is the point where most people ask the wrong question. It feels natural, it feels obvious, it sounds reasonable, and it leads nowhere. The question is usually framed around conversion. How does straight vibration turn into a rotation? What mechanism is doing the converting? Where is the part that redirects motion? But conversion assumes intent. It assumes a device that takes one thing and deliberately turns it into another. That is not what is happening here. Nothing in the system is tasked with changing motion. Nothing is responsible for choosing a direction. There is no stage where vibration arrives, gets processed, and exits as rotation. The wrong question is about transformation. It treats rotation as a product. It imagines a hidden step where straight motion is altered. That step does not exist. If you keep looking for it, you will keep missing what the system is actually doing. The right question is quieter. It does not ask what is being created. It asks what is being denied. It asks which motion are no longer allowed to complete. It asks which paths fail to close when the cycle repeats. Straight motion looks simple, but it relies on symmetry to survive repetition. Up must undo down, contact must release when it loads, timing must align across the body. In this system, that alignment never occurs. Not once, not by accident, by constraint. Nothing is added to create rotation. Instead, something is removed. The ability for straight line motion to return to its starting state is taken away. The cycle cannot reset cleanly. Something is always left unfinished. When that happens, repetition becomes selective. The system does not search for solutions, it does not explore options. It repeats what can finish. It abandons what cannot. Rotation is not the goal, rotation is the reminder. It is the motion that survives when straight motion fails to close. It is what is left standing after all other paths collapse under repetition. Do not answer this yet, do not explain it, just hold the reframing. Stop asking how rotation is made, start asking why straight motion is no longer possible. That shift is enough. This behavior lives in mechanics, not in control, not in signal processing, not in clever design, plain mechanics. Mass, contact, inertia, timing. The same domain that governs falling objects and rotating wheels governs this too. That domain allows many things. It allows vibration, it allows friction, it allows bodies to resist motion when they are forced to accelerate, it allows contact to form and break, it allows energy to enter and leave a system. None of that is unusual. What this domain does not decide is direction. The equations do not say this way. They do not prefer rotation over translation. They do not choose outcomes. They permit the families of motion, leave the selection to the structure. Here, the laws allow straight line vibration to exist. They do not guarantee that straight line vibration can repeat cleanly once constraints are applied. They allow inertia to resist acceleration. They do not require that resistance to be simultaneous everywhere. The platform supplies motion in one axis only. That is allowed. The body responds through its mass distribution and its contact geometry. That is also allowed. The interaction between the two is not governed by intent, it is governed by timing. Every contact event happens when inertia and boundary meet. Those meetings are not simultaneous across the body, they never are. The laws permit that, they do not correct it. Nothing in mechanics restores symmetry once it is removed. If mass resists motion unevenly, the domain does not intervene. If timing is staggered, the domain does not average it out. It simply allows the consequences to accumulate. This is where intuition often misfires. People expect the laws to enforce balance. They expect straight motion to remain straight unless acted upon. But mechanics does not preserve straightness, it preserves consistency. If the same constraint repeats, the same consequence repeats. The domain allows vibration to persist. It allows contact delays to persist. It allows orientation to change if nothing forces it back. What it does not do is decide that orientation should return. That decision is not made, it is avoided. The system does not break any rules, it follows them precisely. And because the rules do not forbid rotation under these constraints, rotation remains. The laws allow many behaviors. This structure selects one. That is enough. At this point, the behavior no longer feels surprising, it feels settled. The rotation is steady, the vibration continues, nothing new is happening. And that calm is important because it reveals what the system is actually doing. The mass is not fixed in influence, it redistributes its effect every cycle, not by moving around but by resisting motion at different moments. That shifting resistance determines which motions can repeat and which cannot. Straight line motion tries to complete its cycle, but it always leaves something unfinished. Rotation does not. This is not efficiency, it is survival. The system adopts the motion that can finish every time, the one that does not accumulate contradiction, the one that does not require symmetry that no longer exists. There are limits to this, they appear quietly, increase friction too much and motion dies entirely. There is no rotation because there is no repetition left to shape. Friction too far and contact disappears. The sequence breaks, nothing accumulates. The effect fades. Change the vibration frequency and the timing shifts. Too slow and the body has time to settle between cycles. Too fast and the contact blurs into noise. The ordering weakens, the rotation loses stability. There is a narrow band where inevitability holds. Scale the system up and losses grow. Mass increases inertia, but it also increases dissipation. The balance shifts. The same constraints still apply, but the window narrows. The behavior remains real, but less forgiving. None of this is failure in dramatic sense. Nothing snaps, nothing breaks. The system simply stops selecting rotation once the constraints no longer deny straight motion effectively. When straight motion can close again, rotation has no reason to exist. That tells you something important. The behavior was never imposed. It was never powered. It was never enforced. It only appeared while alternatives were unavailable. This is not clever design. It is a selected design. The structure does not create motion, it removes options. When constraints are right, the behavior does not need control, it only needs repetition. And given those constraints, no other outcome was possible.